He had always believed the desert was a silent place, a world of endless sand and unforgiving sun. But the day Thomas Riker lost the trail, he realized the desert wasn't silent at all. It whispered, groaned, shifted, and watched him like a living beast waiting for its meal. The sun fell like hammer blows on his skin as he stumbled farther from the line of distant mountains he was meant to follow. His horse, spooked by a sudden rattlesnake strike, had bucked hard and vanished into the dunes with his canteen, map and rifle, leaving Thomas alone and dizzy with thirst. Each step sank deeper into the scorching sand until the heat blurred his vision, the world twisting into a mirage of wavering colors. And just as he collapsed to his knees thinking this was where he would die, he heard something, the flutter of feet, light but fast, running toward him. He looked up and saw shadows moving along the ridge, silhouettes framed against the sun, tall figures, braided hair flowing in the desert wind, bodies marked with white clay paint that made their copper skin shimmer. Before he could speak, something struck the back of his head, soft, but firm enough to topple him, and darkness swallowed him whole. When he awoke, the world smelled of smoke, leather, and sage. His wrists were bound, his shirt stripped, and a ring of warriors circled him like wolves, deciding if he was worth eating. They belonged to the Apache Woman Tribe, a group whispered, but in frontier towns, but never confirmed real women who lived hidden in remote canyons where no man trespassed and lived to tell the tale. Their eyes were fierce, sharp, and filled with suspicion, but the one who stepped forward made the entire circle bow low. She towered over him with a grace that made her look carved from the desert itself, braids, decorated with raven feathers, shoulders draped with a white wolf pelt, skin painted with symbols that glowed under the firelight. Her eyes were a stormy, dangerous gold. She was Nayeli, the queen of the hidden Apache, and when she looked down at Thomas, it wasn't with hatred, it was with the cold assessment of a ruler deciding whether a stranger was an enemy, a threat, or a prize. Thomas tried to speak, but his throat was cracked and raw, and only a rasp escaped him. Nayeli raised her hand, and the warriors stepped back. She crouched in front of him, touching 2 fingers to his jaw, tilting his face upward. "You walk where no man is allowed," she said, her voice low and powerful, accented but sharp as a blade. "The desert should have killed you, yet it brought you to us. Why?" Thomas forced the words out. "I'm lost," the warriors murmured in anger, but the queen silenced them with a slight nod. She studied him, tracing an ancient symbol in the dirt between them. "A man who survives the desert is no ordinary man," she said, "and the prophecy speaks of one who will wander into our lands when the moon burns red." At first he thought she was testing him, but her expression held no humor. The tribe began chanting softly, their voices rising with the drums echoing off canyon walls. Nayeli leaned closer, her breath warm against his cheek. "You are taken as captive," she declared. "Your fate is mine alone to decide." He was dragged to a tall cage woven from ironwood, branches lifted above the camp like an offering. Days passed in a blur, ritual chants at dawn, smoke rising at dusk, warriors sharpening their obsidian blades as they watched him with suspicious eyes. But what unnerved him most was how often the queen returned to observe him. She asked about his life, his home, his past, and though he answered hesitantly at first, he found himself speaking more each time, drawn into her fierce presence. One night, under a sky overflowing with stars, she dismissed the guards and climbed into the cage platform where he was held. "Why do you not tremble before me as others do?" she asked quietly. Thomas swallowed. "Because you saved me." She tilted her head, studying him with the intensity of a lioness. "Do not mistake mercy for weakness," she warned. "I saved you only because the spirits whispered your arrival." She stepped closer, close enough for him to see the fire-lit gold in her eyes. "A man has not set foot here in 20 years, she murmured. "The last one brought only blood." "I'm not like him," Thomas said, surprising himself with how steady his voice sounded. "Then prove it," she whispered. Over the next days he was tested, forced to walk barefoot over hot stone to show endurance. made to lift stone weights carved with tribal symbols to display strength, and finally to track a wounded deer through jagged cliffs to demonstrate instinct. He passed each challenge not perfectly, but with grit that caused murmurs among the tribe. Some warriors began to watch him not with hatred but respect. Yet each night, Nayeli studied him from the shadows, her thoughts unreadable. Then came the night of the blood moon, a rare sky omen the tribe held sacred. The entire canyon pulsed with drums, torches, and chanting that rose like thunder. Thomas was brought before the queen, unbound for the first time, wearing a ceremonial hide marked with white paint. Nayeli stepped forward, her face painted in crimson streaks, her wolf pelt glowing under the moon's red light. She raised her spear, pointing it at his heart. "The spirits demand an heir," she proclaimed. The chanting stopped instantly. Thomas froze. "A union between the strength of a man," she continued, voice rising, "and the bloodline of the queen ensures survival of the tribe." The warriors bowed in agreement. Nayeli's eyes locked with his. "You came from the desert," she said. "You survived it. You passed the trials. The spirits chose you." She lowered the spear and stepped, so close he felt her heartbeat against his chest. "Thomas Riker," she whispered. "The Moonlight Tribe demands an heir." The canyon fell silent, and everything in Thomas's life changed in that single breath. Before he could respond, the drums roared back to life. The moon flared crimson, and the queen placed her hand on his chest as if sealing a pact older than the desert itself. And deep inside him, between fear and awe, he realized something impossible. He wasn't just a captive anymore. He was chosen. As the tribe erupted in chant, and the queen's golden eyes held his hostage, the narrator's voice would echo for your viewers. As dawn broke over the canyon, Thomas realized the trials were far from over. The tribe that once watched him with curiosity now stared, with division burning in their eyes. Some saw him as the chosen one, others as a threat to their sacred bloodline. Even Queen Nayeli, strong and untouchable beneath the wolf pelt, seemed torn between duty and the strange pull she felt toward him. But before Thomas could understand her silence, the warning horns echoed through the valley. Enemy riders had entered their lands, and suddenly, the man who came as a captive was now the tribe's only hope for survival.